Hello and welcome to Short Points, where Tsetsu and I am Nick by the way, we are sharing thoughts on what impressed us while we are studying the Sabbath School lesson. We are starting a new quarter and yet another book of the Bible that we'll be studying for the next 3 months. The theme is about the book of Job, a very popular story, and many of us have probably read this book already many times. And this is good because the study kind of assumes that. We'll not be looking at the book of Job as if it was our first encounter with it and our first time, but rather we'll try to put it all together. What do we learn from this book? Is it just an interesting fable with good moral lessons, or is there something more into it? And more importantly, what is the message in the context of the entire Bible? How does it blend all together? So, what is it about?
It's about the perennial question. And this is how the introduction for our quarterly is entitled. But what kind of question is that? If it's perennial, it means that everybody is asking this question throughout the generations. And of course, looking for an answer. So the question is, if God exists and He is so good, why there is so much suffering? And this quarter we're going to be looking mainly in the book of Job for some satisfying answers. And as you have probably already guessed, the topic of suffering is not the only object of interest in the book of Job, but that there are others, like the amazing transparency of how the great controversy between Satan and Christ is revealed.
Some of the biggest questions that we all have are, where are we coming from? What is our origin? What is our purpose? What is our future? And for many of us, the Bible offers much more credible, logical, and making sense explanation and context for these questions, better than all other alternatives. However, we all struggle with human suffering. Something deep inside of us refuses to accept the unfairness of human tragedy. Why would a loving God, who has the power to do anything, allow this? Something is messed up. We can't accept it, and we can either decide, no, there is no way to have a God to exist, or if He really exists, then to get mad and angry at Him because we are hurt. Hopefully the study of the book of Job will help us to find some answers. So let's move on to the first lesson.
The end. This is how the first lesson is entitled. And who would have thought that on the start line of this quarterly we're going to be looking at the absolute end of the book of Job. But this is what the author does, and he does it with a purpose. So sometimes probably before we hear a story, it's better that we know the end of it.
It's an interesting approach. Having a glimpse to the end may be a motivator to engage in the journey. Many people don't like spoilers, but this is different. As we said, this is more like we already read the story, and now we are trying to make sense of it in the context of the big questions of human suffering. We are not looking only on the end for Job, but basically we are asking what is the end of the whole adventure in the context of the Bible. And we start with Job.
In the midst of the reality of my daily chores and activities, when reading the lesson, it slammed down on my head like a bucket full of cold water. It talks about the end life of Job, a life that he's been full of days, a life that he's been blessed with much more than he used to have before, but life after all that has been lost. And the lesson makes you think, the lesson makes me think about myself, about my family, about my wealth, about my achievements.
So the end for Job seems to be happy. But how about many other good people like Abel, John the Baptist, Stephen?
Yeah, the lesson is equally divided between the two options how our life can end. It could be either described like living happily ever after, or just having an unhappy ending. Life with God does not guarantee us that we can pick and choose what would we prefer as an ending of our life. And numerous examples in the Bible confirms it.
And this is why many will have a problem with a story like Job's, because it has a happy ending. But life isn't always fair. In fact, many real life stories have a very bitter ending. Also, is the end for Job really a happy one? I mean, he dies. Is this really the end of it? If it is there really a big difference? Sure, it does matter if you die with a smile on your face and a satisfaction of a good life, but if this is all, I don't feel satisfied. And one more thing, Job remains without answers to many questions. So, is this it? The Bible offers much more into this, and Job's story should be better appreciated in an extended biblical context.
But definitely the life story of Job is this story with a good ending from a human perspective. His life is transformed from miserable, hopeless, suffering, mind struggling, soul searching and truth digging, transformed into an abundantly blessed life with a loving family, with generous ownership of wealth and authority. It's a transformation derived from the experience. It's not a transformation in the nature of things. However, this transformation is a small glimmer of hope, something that other books in the Bible, mainly the Gospels, talk about and brings this future promise.
Job's restoration of what he lost was partial. It was a symbol and a glimpse of the full restoration where death is not the end. Jesus is the resurrection and the life. And this is where the expression full of days gets a completely new meaning.
If somebody dies, will they live again? With this question, the lesson ends, the question that also Job himself struggles with. Me too. And having said that, I feel like this quarterly will be quite interesting.
The study will be fascinating. The author is talking about the idea of progressive revelation. The study will not be a clear Q&A, but through the journey, hopefully some answers to many of our questions will be revealed. See you next week.